this piece, I want to talk about protecting your rental income. Now, we want 100% of the rental income coming in 100% of the time. Is that being greedy? No, as landlords, of course, we always want that to happen. But life gets in the way, and sometimes the rental income just doesn't come in. And the worst that can happen is when you're checking that bank statement and that tenant hasn't paid you. You get that horrible feeling in the pit of your stomach. Are they just going to pay us tomorrow, or is it something more sinister that's going on? Look, I've been a landlord for 25 years. Twice the worst has happened to me, where the tenant has not paid month on month, and despite dialogue, despite conversation, despite false promises, it just isn't forthcoming. And I've then had to take that reluctant decision to go through the eviction process. And it's even led to courts, because despite you serving the notices, they still haven't moved out. So you've got to go through the court process. And then you've got to go through bailiffs, and eventually they leave the property. That, to me, is one of the worst case scenarios you could come across as a landlord. So, look, if you're one of those landlords that absolutely relies on the rental income, and by that I mean it's your main or only source of income, so you can't afford for a tenant to not be paying you that £1,000, that £1,500, that £2,000 a month. Look, if you've got a property down in the southeast, then having rental income of 2 to 3K a month is quite normal. And if that, what would be the implications if that stopped coming in? Now, okay, if you've got a lot of savings to fall back on, then that is your insurance policy. But what if your savings are modest? What if you don't have savings and you're relying on that rental income to pay your own bills? Then you must be listening to this piece and taking some action here, because there are insurance policies out there to protect you, to mitigate that risk so that you don't have the sleepless nights. And you should be considering these. So you might be thinking, oh yeah, but what's the price? Is it prohibitive? Well, this is how it works. So you can put the insurance policy in place should that tenant doesn't default on paying their rental income. Once they've not paid the rental income, there's a month excess period. So we're getting into month 2. If that continues, then you can trigger the insurance claim. You can claim up to about £2,500 a month. And the premium, here's the thing, the premium is going to be no more than about £15 to £20 a month. Now that's to cover up to £2,500 of rent. And the insurance will continue to pay you your rental income until the tenant, look, if the tenant eventually starts paying again, happy days. But let's assume that's not going to happen. So the insurance policy continues to pay you rental income month on month on month until you get vacant possession. The insurance policy will also pay all the legal costs, all the costs associated with solicitors and with the court process to get that tenant evicted. And once eventually you've got vacant possession, then the claim stops at that point. So look, if that gives you peace of mind, if that allows you to sleep at night, then you should really be considering that type of policy. And here's another scenario. I used to manage the properties myself. I don't now. I've sort of wised up and given it to people that are far better at it than I am. But back in the day, I would interview, I'd do all the advertising and interview the tenants myself. And sometimes you didn't have queues of tenants going down the road. You were a little short on options, I guess, of who you'd accept as a tenant. And you're sometimes a little bit desperate because you've got an empty property and you've got this potential tenant in front of you. And your head is saying, sign them up, get the money in. But your gut is telling you something different. And your gut might be saying, there's something I can't quite put my finger on here with this tenant. And so that because there's no relationship with that tenant, there's no track record with that tenant, what are you going to do? Are you going to say no to them on a gut feel? Might well be right. But here's what you can do. You can get the insurance policy in place so that if your gut was right, you've got the insurance policy there to protect you. But then after a period of months, maybe the first year, you've got to know that new tenant. Maybe your gut wasn't right. Maybe actually you have built that relationship up. They have paid every single month on time, and you've got that connection with your tenant now. Well, then maybe a year down the line, you can stop that policy because you've got a relationship and you trust the tenant and you can continue thereafter. So these policies might be something you just bring in for a short period of time until you get confidence with your tenant. Or, as I said, it might be something you leave in place because at 15 to 20 quid a month, it's a price worth paying, particularly where you landlords, as I said a little earlier, are 100% reliant on that income because it's your only or main source of income for your living expenses. So the takeaway message is, look into it, explore it, get yourself educated about these types of policies, get some quotations on your portfolio or those within your portfolio that you feel either more at risk or have just got new tenants coming in. So again, click on the link at the end of this piece, book an appointment with our insurance advisor, and they'll give you and arm you with all the information you need to make decisions on that. So I hope that's been really useful on protecting your rental income.